regret granting citizenship to Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah. Deputy Leader of Reform UK and MP for Boston and Skegness, Richard Tice, will join me as Nigel Farage vows to double or quits on the local election spending £5 million, I believe. What does Reform UK need to see in May to constitute a successful year? The Liberal Democrats are launching a fresh bid to force the government into a vote on the UK's membership of the Customs Union. Yes, it's 2016 all over again, folks. Cabinet Office spokesperson for the party, Lisa Smart, will join me later on the show. And former British Ambassador to Iran, Nicholas Hopton, will be here to discuss the Ayatollah Khamenei's crackdown on protesters across the country. Is this the beginning of the end for the regime? As ever, an absolutely packed 90 minutes of politics to come, so do not even think of going anywhere. Our usual Sunday morning paper review will still come, but joining me now is the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones. Mr. Jones, lovely to see you this morning. Happy New Year to you. I'm intrigued by the fact that the PM has shown support for the anti-Semite and self-confessed racist Alaa Abdel Fattah, but not persecuted Iranians. Why would that be?
I'm not sure I understand the premise of your question, Camilla, but firstly, Happy New Year. It's nice to be with you. I mean, look, your question on Mr. Al Fattah, I think you're referring to the tweets that he posted a number of years ago. The Prime Minister's already said that it's regretful that the government hadn't seen those when decisions were taken. This was not just an issue under this Labour administration, of course, it was an issue under the Conservatives as well. I think it was Priti Patel as Home Secretary that originally granted British citizenship to Mr. Al Fattah. And as is normally the case, when a British citizen is being detained in those types of circumstances in any country around the world, consular services are made available to them. But of course, his views on those tweets are abhorrent. The government obviously does not support them in any way.
Why then is Number 10 saying that he's still welcome in the UK when he's tweeted the following? That all Zionists, including civilians, he wished death upon. He said, I'm a racist, I don't like white people, so pee off. He's said about how his heroes have always killed colonialists. And yet, when asked, when all of this was revealed, Number 10 said they still welcomed him to the UK. And I asked the point in reference to the Iranians who are being persecuted right now, because the PM has still kept that tweet on his X feed and yet not posted anything about persecuted Iranians. And I find that quite surprising.
Oh, I see. Well, look, with Mr. Al Fattah, the important point is that he was granted citizenship by the last Conservative administration. That doesn't mean that we're supportive of the comments he made. As I said, they're abhorrent and they're not.
Well, you've welcomed him into the UK. That sounds pretty supportive.
Well, he was a citizen. Forgive me, this earpiece is just falling out slightly. He's a citizen, and that's why he was treated as a citizen. And we'd be wrong for the government to revoke citizenship from people based on their tweets.
So he's still welcome?
Even if they are as abhorrent as they were in those circumstances. Well, he's a British citizen, and so...
But the word welcome was used.
As I say,
there was an effusive post on X by the Prime Minister welcoming this anti-Semite to the UK. The word welcome was used. Was that the right word to use under the circumstances as we now understand them?
Well, you know that the tweet that was issued before the Prime Minister had been shown the tweets of Mr. Al Fattah that you referred to, and the Prime Minister said this morning and previously that he regrets the fact that the government hadn't surfaced those tweets to him or the Foreign Secretary, or indeed the previous Prime Ministers or Foreign Secretaries under the Conservative administration.
This bloke was tweeting the stuff from 2010, and I will ask Priti Patel about it, don't worry, she granted him citizenship. But what does it say about Number 10, that all of these tweets surface literally with a basic Google check by journalists within 2 minutes, and yet our own Prime Minister doesn't know this guy's history and gives him a warm welcome back to Britain?
Well, you're right that this was an issue that shouldn't have happened. It was a failing at some point in the process in government. That's why the Foreign Secretary has asked the Permanent Secretary at the Foreign Office to answer questions as to why this happened in the first place. Ministers will have understandably assumed that these checks would have been done by officials as part of the process, as a process we inherited as a Labour administration. When it occurred to us that that had not happened, as I say, the Foreign Secretary put in place a review to understand why, to make sure that changes can be put in place to ensure it doesn't
so it was a
happen again.
mistake to welcome him back.
The Prime Minister has been very clear that was unacceptable.
It was a mistake for the Prime Minister welcome him. Okay. That was a mistake.
The Prime Minister himself said this morning.
Right.
He said this morning that he regrets the fact that tweet went out and that he wasn't made aware of the previous tweet. Yeah.
No, I would have asked the Prime Minister directly, but he won't do my show, strangely.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
The PM has claimed that 2026 will see a turn, a corner, and us to feel a sense of hope. Yet a recent YouGov survey reveals that only 9% of the British public think 2026 will be good. Quite staggeringly, 66%, or 2/3, think that 2025 was a bad year under Labour.
Look, I understand why the public have got a pessimistic view about the future. The Prime Minister does too. Since the banking crisis in 2008, living standards have not improved in the way the public expect them to. And they've been promised time and time again, whether from David Cameron and Nick Clegg, we're all in this together, or from Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage, that Brexit was going to transform the UK economy and improve people's living standards. All the way through, they've been promised these types of things and it's not been delivered. So it's totally understandable that the public are angry about that. And they're not sure whether governments are able actually to deliver a better country that improves their living standards. We say that that is not true, that mainstream politics can make a difference to people's lives, and we're absolutely focused on delivering it. And 2026 is going to be a year where people start to feel the benefit of some of the decisions that we started to take in our first 18 months in government.
Really? According to Retail Economics, discretionary income has gone down by 2.1%. According to the Centre for Policy Studies, if you're earning 50 grand, you're going to be 500 quid worse off by the end of this Parliament, despite a 6k increase in wages because of the budget and because of the tax burden and because of the government's out-of-control spending, Darren Jones. So people aren't feeling positive and the statistics don't seem to stand up what you're saying.
So I haven't seen the report you referred to, so I can't comment on its assumptions. But what I can tell you is what the government is doing. In the long run, when you've got to get the economy back on track and firing on all cylinders so that people's pay improves at work and the cost of their mortgage and rent and shopping and energy bills comes down over the long term, we're absolutely focused on that. But of course, at the budget, the Chancellor took a number of decisions to help immediately in the short term. The £150 cut to people's energy bills, which will come onto bills from April this year. The changes to breakfast clubs at school, funded childcare childcare, places at nursery for working families, the national living wage, over £900 a year for the lowest earners, the triple lock, giving pensioners, I think, over £600 extra this year, freezes on rail and bus fares and prescription charges, all of the things that government has a direct ability to affect, we have put in place measures to try to limit the cost of living. Ultimately, it will be about having stability in the economy and growth that can bring inflation down, and you'll know that inflation has been cut 6 times already under this Labour administration.
One could argue there was nowhere else for inflation to come but down. Just on schooling, you mentioned breakfast clubs there. We learned today that 105 private schools have closed as a result of Labour's VAT policy. That's affected 25,000 pupils. How on earth can it be a good policy for a government to have closed down more than 100 schools, making teachers redundant and moving pupils from the schools and classes and classmates that they enjoy and like?
So again, I'm not sure what evidence you're referring to, Camilla, so I can't comment on it.
It's the chief of the Independent Schools Council. All the stuff I'm referring to is in the Sunday papers.
Well, forgive me, I've not had a chance to read them because I've been doing TV this morning, but the government data that I've seen shows there's been minimal movement between... Well, you're a better person than I am, Camilla. I apologise for not being able to multitask sufficiently. But look, the government data shows that there's been very limited movement between private schools and public schools. And
105 have closed down.
Should be charged on fee-paying schools. I don't recognise the data is the point I'm making.
Well, that's from the head of the Independent Schools Council, who is presumably across the data.
Sure, but
if 105 private schools have closed down and Labour has been responsible for closing down schools and moving 25,000 pupils out of said schools, then that is not a policy to be proud of, is it, Darren Jones?
Look, there's a number of schools closed before the VAT change happened because they weren't profitable, because they were too small. I don't know what the circumstances were of those 105 schools, but it was a very clear manifesto commitment to add VAT to fee-paying schools, to redistribute that money into state schools, to support the majority of children in our country with additional money for teaching in the state system. That's what the public voted for, and that's what the government implemented. And I would just challenge you a little as well. At the start, you said that inflation couldn't go any further up. It was over 11% under Liz Truss and the Conservatives. It's now down to 3.2%, which is much, much lower than it was under the Conservatives. And so I think that, the public recognise that their mortgage bills, their rent bills, they're starting to not rise as fast as they've done in the past because of the stability that Labour's brought back to the economy. And there's going to be more of that coming in the year ahead.
On the subject of inflation, it's nowhere is it higher than in Venezuela. I take it the Prime Minister is full-throated in his 100% support of President Trump and his actions against Maduro. I know he's held up as a hero to some on the left, including Jeremy Corbyn, but at the end of the day, the guy shouldn't have been in office, should be removed, and presumably you're 100% backing Trump on this, are you, Darren Jones?
So we've always agreed that President Maduro was an illegitimate president. The UK government sanctioned him. We sanctioned him as a Labour government only last year because of the actions that he took against the people of Venezuela. So I don't think anybody's going to be sad about President Maduro no longer being in office in Venezuela, that's for sure.
But you back Trump 100%, do you?
Well, the UK was not involved in any way with the.
Well, you must have a position on our closest ally
from the United States.
Do you back Trump 100% or not?
All I'm saying is that we were not. Well, it didn't matter one way or another because we weren't involved. This wasn't an operation that the UK armed forces were part of. Well,
yes.
We
what does that say about the special relationship?
The UK. I think it's totally fine. This was a independent action of the United States of America. Congress itself wasn't informed, let alone allies or third countries, because it was a individual action of the United States administration. If the UK were involved operationally, then of course we would expect to be part of that conversation naturally, but we were not involved in any way.
Okay, but you must have an opinion.
We were not part of discussions on the operational detail.
I know, but finally, Darren Jones, you must have an opinion as to whether Donald Trump has acted in accordance with international law and correctly here. Do you back President Trump on this or not? Yes or no?
Well, that's a question to the US administration. It's for the president.
No, it's a question to you.
For the operation they undertook. I'm not.
No, that's my question to you, Darren Jones. You're the Prime Minister's right-hand man.
Sure,
do you back what Donald Trump has done? Yes or no?
Donald Trump is the President of the United States of America, Camilla. It's for him to set out the legal basis and his decisions for the operations he took. The UK was not
I'm asking if you support it. It's such a straightforward question, Darren Jones. I'm asking you, as the Prime Minister's right-hand man, whether you support what Donald Trump has done to Maduro in Venezuela, yes or no?
I'm giving you a straightforward answer, Camilla, and it doesn't matter one way or another, because this was an operation conducted by the United States. The UK was not involved in any way. Questions about international law are for the American administration to explain in terms of the legal basis of their operation, and for any challenge to that application to be conducted through international courts, not through the British government.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you one more time, Darren Jones, because I don't find that a credible answer. It's perfectly legitimate for me to ask you whether you support our main ally, the US, and US President Trump, with whom Keir Starmer apparently has a close personal relationship, let alone the special relationship. I'm merely asking you a simple question. We've all seen how this played out over the weekend. We can all form an opinion about it in this studio or beyond. What is your opinion? Does the Prime Minister, does the Labour government support President Trump in what he has done in Venezuela? Yes or no?
The Prime Minister's been very clear that we did not recognise the presidency of President Maduro. That's why the UK government sanctioned him and has long called for a peaceful transition to a democratically elected president in Venezuela. No? On the question of American operations, it's not a question for the UK as to whether America should undertake its operations or not. It's an independent, sovereign question of the American administration. It's not for the British government to provide a running commentary on the actions of other countries.
It's not a running commentary, it's just a yes or no question, but I don't think you're willing to answer it, so we may as well leave it there. But Darren Jones, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning.
Pleasure.
Right, thank you. We are going to get onto the paper review in just a moment once I consider those responses to those questions. And we've got lots more lined up today.